Hey guys, Zomfox here. Now, I was started this series called Opinion a while back. It was one where I was going to talk about something that I had an opinion on, and I actually do a whole video on it. I haven't had anything that I actually wanted to talk about until now. I've decided that now is a good time to actually do this video that I've been thinking for a long time, and as you can tell, it is that I think the Pro Football Hall of Fame should change its name. To put it simply, the Pro Football Hall of Fame actually isn't the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It is the NFL Hall of Fame. To put it simply, whatever you do in almost any professional league does not matter to the Hall of Fame. Despite the fact that it is called the Pro Football Hall of Fame, meaning that technically speaking, any league such as the Arena Football League, United States Football League, Canadian Football League, the World Football League, all those things technically should count, but really all that does is mainly the NFL and then the old AFL, the American Football League since they merged. So, for me, it's time to talk about exactly why this is a bad thing and pretty much who ends up screwing over. So, without further ado, let's just talk about the main three guys I'm going to talk about. The main three are going to be Herschel Walker, Doug Flutie, and Anthony Sevillo. To put it simply, these three guys pretty much are the ones who I think are the very easiest to make cases for on why the Pro Football Hall of Fame is wrong. So, without further ado, let me just explain something about the idea of calling the Pro Football Hall of Fame only for the NFL. No, the NFL is not the only pro football. For one, technically speaking, the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL have actually been around longer than literally every single team in the NFL. So, in terms of an age thing, the CFL, even though the league itself doesn't beat the NFL, the Argonauts were a much older team than the Cardinals or the Bears, who are supposed to be the OG NFL teams. And in terms of professional football, especially in the USFL sense, the USFL was able to take a lot of top talent from the NFL. So technically speaking, from 83 to, really just 83 and 84, because 85, and 85 since they were coming in late and stuff like that. For those 3 years, it's arguable that if you want to say the USFL stats shouldn't be included because it's an inferior league, well, the NFL itself was quite inferior to what it was in 82 and 86 because the USFL took a lot of top talent, if you understand what I'm getting at. So, especially, and in the CFL sense, a lot of people who play football in Canada end up staying in Canada. So, I think that it's definitely really bad that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is just for the NFL. So, without further ado, let's just talk about the easiest case to make in Herschel Walker. He is the easiest case to make because, to put it simply, in his NFL statistics and career, he already had an outstanding career. The guy had over 8,000 yards rushing and almost 5,000 yards receiving, while being a two-time second-team All-Pro, a two-time Pro Bowler as well. Now, the two-time second-team All-Pro and Pro Bowlers might sound like a ton, but some of the guys that have been getting in recently, like the John Lynch's or the Bryant Youngs, have kind of showed that it's kind of more, it's just, the standards are kind of dipping a bit, it's like what Dion was saying. But Herschel Walker mainly is up there due to a lot of things in his career statistics that, technically speaking, speak a huge amount for him. In the USFL, to put it simply, he had over 5,500 rushing yards. He had a season with 1,800, and he has what is still the professional football record at 2,400 rushing yards. And it's interesting that even though the USFL had 18-game seasons, the fact that the NFL now is 17, and the fact that the NFL used to be 14 and 12, the games played really doesn't matter. But overall, Herschel Walker had 5,500 yards receiving, and he even had 1,400 yards on pure receiving as well. So he had just about 7,000 yards in the USFL itself. Supposedly, his combined rushing numbers for the USFL and NFL at 13,787 would put him 7th all-time in career rushing yards, and his combined all-purpose yards, which is 25,283, would put him 1st all-time in the NFL's list. And it wouldn't be the first all-time. There's a couple other guys that have more, Henry Williams from the CFL. But to put it simply, he would be up there as one of the all-time leaders in scrimmage yards. So, the fact is, he should be in the Hall of Fame. He also has the USFL MVP, all-USFL player multiple times. I mean, it's pretty safe to say that he should be in the Hall of Fame for football sense, because he really is I mean, he really is just an outstanding player. I mean, what he did in this league was just outstanding, yet, for whatever reason, because of the fact that he played in the USFL, he's not in the Hall of Fame, is really, really messed up to me. It's just what I would say about that. I just think it's pretty bad, but whatever. So, that's Herschel Walker's case. Then Doug Flutie. Doug Flutie is the guy who's played in the NFL, the CFL, and the USFL. The USFL was his first year right out of college. He didn't really do a ton in the USFL, to put it simply. I mean, he was there, he had like a couple thousand passing yards, but to put it simply, the main thing where his career took off was the CFL. After being in the NFL for a few years, he went to the CFL. He was outstanding. He was a 3-time Grey Cup champion, a 3-time Grey Cup MVP. He won the CFL's most outstanding player 6 times. That's literally insane that he won that award 6 times. That's like the MVP, literally. And then he was a 6-time CFL All-Star. He still holds the record for the most passing yards in a season at 6,600 and passing touchdowns at 48. And then, especially when he came back to the NFL, he did become a Pro Bowler, and he did win Comeback Player of the Year. And during that time with the Bills, there was that one year where, they made a terrible decision to bench him for, literally no reason, because they just thought, oh, yeah, we'll just run with, I think it was, Rob Johnson, and they ended up losing because of that. But overall, in terms of his career, he is actually, if you count every passing stat in professional football, he is 14th all-time passing yards currently. And in terms of just the NFL sense, the guys who only played in the NFL, the guys who are above him, I mean, a lot of people say Phillip Rivers is going to get in the Hall of Fame. Marino's already in the Hall of Fame. Big Ben's going to be a Hall of Famer. Warren Moon's in the Hall of Fame. Brett Favre's in the Hall of Fame. Manning's in the Hall of Fame. And then below him, Eli's probably going to get in, whether or not you agree. He's going to probably get in. Rodgers is going to get in. Elway's in. So, in terms of his stats, he's up there in passing yards, but when you add in the fact that he was a multi-time champion and a 6-time MVP of his league, that is insane. So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear to me. He definitely should be in the Hall of Fame. He just really should be. But sadly for him, he's kind of just getting, kind of screwed over by the fact that, they don't want to count the CFL stuff, despite the fact that it is, without a doubt, pro football. But, hey, 6 MVPs he's not in, that's pretty bad. Then last is Anthony Stivillo. But simply, he literally only played in the CFL. But what he did in the CFL was outstanding. Over the course of his career, he ended up being a 3-time outstanding player. He did lead the league in passing yards 4 times. He led the league in touchdowns 5 times. He was the East Division's most outstanding player 7 times. He was to put it simply, though, the biggest thing is that in terms of, the CFL or just overall stuff, he had 455 passing touchdowns, almost 5,900 completions, a ton of attempts, a ton of yards in Grey Cup games, because the guy did, he was pretty good. But he was a 3-time Grey Cup champion and, multi-time All-Star and stuff like that. But the big thing for Anthony Stivillo, when he retired, he was the all-time leader in professional football passing yards at 79,816. And even now, that is still 3rd all-time. So, I know that the CFL, the field is more designed in passing, it's like 3-down football, stuff like that. But the fact is, you can't dispute the fact that this guy literally had the most yards. And the guy that was behind him was another CFL player, Damon Allen. He beat him by over 7,000 yards. So, the fact that he has all these accolades, he should be in the Hall of Fame as well. Yet he's not. So that goes back to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. How can it be called the Pro Football Hall of Fame when the all-time leader in passing yards at the time of his retirement is not in the Hall of Fame? How can it be the Pro Football Hall of Fame when Herschel Walker, the guy who is literally in the top 3 for most all-time scrimmage yards, as well as having the single best rushing season in professional football history, not in the Hall of Fame? How is a guy who won 6 MVPs in the CFL, in Doug Flutie, not in the Hall of Fame? You see how that becomes a bit insane when you think about that these guys aren't in. And it's not even mentioning a couple other guys, like Damon Allen I just mentioned. I mean, like Gizmo Williams I mentioned during Herschel Walker. And there's a couple other USFL guys that are pretty close. Sean Landetta adds a couple of accolades and more punting statistics to his career. Gary Clark was a very outstanding receiver for the Redskins, but he also had a really solid year in the USFL. You have all these other guys who are very close and borderline as well, who if you add some years from their USFL career, or CFL guys who were just outstanding in the CFL, yet they totally just get kind of screwed over. So, to me, the Pro Football Hall of Fame should change its name. If it's going to only pretty much care about the NFL and OG AFL, which pretty much every player that's going to get in from the AFL is in the Hall of Fame. So the fact that it is only considering one professional league isn't really a good thing. Now, I could at least buy an argument that the USFL didn't last, something like that, but the CFL has literally been around for like over 50 years. It is like literally the second longest running professional football league. So the fact that it's not counted because of a couple rule changes, I don't know. It's just that's my two thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, this has been ZombFox. If you enjoy this content, subscribe and hit the bell. I will say this could be argued as a part 1 to a part 2 of another opinion I'm going to be making some point. I'm still got to work on the 84 draft bust video, but I do have another opinion video that will be coming out that will definitely be controversial. But hey, whatever. Have a great night.